Okay, so they don't have an adapter that works for me. And so I can't put my slideshow up there. I did that yesterday with my painting panel. So I have my iPad here with my slides about artist organization and conduct. Also, can you all hear me just fine? Yeah. Okay. And basically, this is just for those who have realized, like, I want to make this a job, and you very well can make this a job. This has been my job for 10 years. And you basically don't get a, Krusty Krab training video with this. You get the, I wish you did. But, this is basically, what I have learned throughout the years, that, there's a lot more that goes into this job than just drawing. You need to have organization, you need to be able to have good communication, and in general you just need to basically find your own way that makes things work for you and just go with it. The first things I want to talk about is communication, and I don't have my folder with my packet. I'm going to have my husband come bring it to me.
Can I make a joke about you lacking the organization?
I was lacking the organization. I wanted to get here quick, and I had a last-minute commissioner come up. So, but I do have my slides for the most part. I'm mentioning to my husband, I forgot it like a not organized artist.
So don't do this.
So don't do this.
So they were out of water? This is the best idea.
Gatorade is fine.
Okay.
I actually have a request.
Sure.
Could you drop by my table and ask my husband for my pink folder and bring it here?
Yeah.
Because I was a not organized artist on my
It's okay. Pink folder. Got it. Oh, I have a present for you.
Thank you.
Bon was like, I still have that.
Yay!
I shall reserve.
It's like a double-sided. I have to tell my husband, no, he doesn't have to leave the table. Okay. So the first thing I want to cover is communication. And it's important to keep a visible way of communicating with your customers. It's also important to have an email that's easy to remember. A lot of people like to put numbers in their names. A lot of people like to put underscores, dots, or whatever to make it. But the thing is if you tell someone that at a con to their face, you'd be like, oh yes, my name is midnight.wolf or something like that. It's like, that's not really going to stick as much. But when I go and I chose my name because it was a 4-letter name that would be easier for people to remember. So if I go, hi, I'm Ifus, it's easier for people to remember that. Or if you have like a shorter name or something catchy. Emails work that way too, because you want your customers to be able to keep in touch with you and basically have anything available so they can keep in touch with you. I've lost touch with so many people, but I always keep myself out there in case they need to contact me. And that's a big thing as an artist that you need to think about. And I guess I would suggest, if you're trying to make this more of a professional thing and you're getting enough business to where your FA notes just cannot be organized, I would recommend just turning off the FA notes, finishing up all communication that's in there, and just redirect people to your email. Because your email can allow you to search up a name of a commissioner you're going to need. It's going to allow you to keep all of your references and info. If I have a commission coming up that I need to do, I can just, when I go to do it, I type in the person's email that they put in on the form, and all of their emails show up with their references, their commission info, any sort of like, hey, I want to change this last little thing. And I want, my character had a last minute change. I wanted to have, longer hair or something, like that's in there as well, and it can help you be organized. Ever since I ditched FA notes and Twitter DMs, I do not lose anything. I do not lose anyone's contact. It all is like kept under the Trello and the email. More on email, like I said, try not to have words that are too big that's hard for people to spell either. Because a lot of the time people are just going to want something short and sweet. Like, think of the businesses in your life that you remember. Thank you so much.
There you are. Anything else?
Nope, I think I'm all set. Thank you so much.
No problem.
This was my packet of read-along information. Also, another thing on email, before I go on to this slide, is you should communicate with correct punctuation and spelling as much as you can. Like, most computers have spell check, and they will have, like, you know, resources on looking up on how to write a business email through Google. Like, you could just Google, like, look up cover letters or whatnot. Basically understand how a company would write to somebody, and you want to come off as a business, you want to come off as a company, because you essentially are. Now that you will be a freelance artist, you will be paying taxes, you will be buying your own health insurance, you will be having all of these things that a job would do, but you're going to do them for yourself. And having that professionalism as well also has people view you as a professional business, and you want people to do that. Do not use aggressive language, swearing or cursing with customers. Try to professionally disengage and know when you can end a transaction is another important thing for artists. And I will say there are two ways a commission has ended. Like, for instance, when you're doing email and email etiquette, for instance, that the product in its promised form is delivered and all has gone according to your terms of service. And I'm gonna go a little out of order here and introduce that the terms of service is a very important thing that you as an artist can use to protect yourself and to let your customers know what they are gonna get. But that will, in communication with email, will protect you if you need any assistance. If a customer is, you know, like trying to say, oh, you know, trying to get free art, I've had that happen. And you just want to overall just make sure you have your own security behind you, and your terms of service will be treated as a contract if somebody agrees to that. And the transaction is also ended if you choose to just give them a refund if you don't want to, but always exiting with, you know, anything negative or positive with a professionally worded email that is well thought out and has correct punctuation and spelling. It will always be good in your favor. And that being said, communication can be stressful. Remember to take breaks when you have time, and when you have time to take off, make sure you take off from responding to people as well. I know a big trap that I got into is I would be laying in bed and I'd be relaxing and having a day off, and then I would see the email notifications pop up on my phone, and I would have an urge to answer them immediately. And the thing is like you can't do that to yourself, because even though it seems like something quick and small, if it is your time off, like a weekend or a day off the week that you picked, or if your work is done for the day, I feel like it is much healthier mentally to just take off from everything, and the emails that come in could just be answered the next day. Unless you have a big job and it's a contract and it's a deadline, but this is freelance, this is different. And when it comes to stressful emails as well, it's okay to be angry. It's okay if someone makes you upset. It's okay to feel those things, but it's not okay to let it out on the customer. So I suggest, like, take a deep breath, walk away from the computer, talk to a partner, a close friend, or family member that you can trust, and have a partner or friend help you word a professional email that addresses the customer issue or yourself by your terms of service. As I stated earlier, that's a very important thing to have. And what's important with talking professionally, especially in emails, is that you want to create a boundary of professionalism so you can keep a firm stand on your terms of service and process. If you seem too rude or casual, there are people that will try to take advantage of you and try to go around your terms of service. I've had people try to get more sketch approvals for free that took more time than I would on a usual commission. And I've had people, I used to have wing it commissions, and now I've just switched over to having a sketch before every commission to make sure everybody has, you know, they like their commission in the end. But before, when I had that, I had people not read, and it would cause a big problem, and I would have to go back and message them and be like, look, this is the terms of service, you need to review this, you said you agreed to it on your form. So let's always have, it's good to have that and have, you know, a firm stance on that. And I would say, like, as well, like, it's very important, again, do not type with no capitalization or punctuation. And just look at how a company sends you an email. Like, you get an email from your internet provider or a letter in the mail. Just look at how that's formed, and that will give you a good rough draft of how to do that. And what you can do to protect yourself as well from these kinds of situations is you can create a terms of service, like I said, and you can also, you have a right to refuse any commission you don't want. If it's something that you don't feel comfortable drawing, if it's something that you don't feel okay with, and sometimes as an artist you get kind of a gut feeling of, this isn't, I don't think this person's gonna work with me, I don't think this person's gonna follow my guidelines, I don't think this is right for me, you can always reject the commission. And other things you can do to avoid or deal with difficult commissioners, you can keep yourself a private blacklist and avoid doing future work with that person. You can try to keep an eye out for username changes, and you can keep yourself updated and keep your blacklist updated. Write the reason you blacklisted them. Trust me, you'll want this because you will forget like 5 years down the line that somebody did something specific. And I usually just keep like a little table, and I write the reason, and then I keep it to myself. You can, and I would only suggest, because there's a lot of things going on, especially on Twitter, I've noticed that people will do buyer beware and artist bewares, and they're very important when it's time to let people know not to do business with certain artists and not to do business with certain buyers. But I would suggest, if you yourself are going to do that, that it would just be kind of a last straw, or if there's something big happening like a chargeback or you get completely ripped off. And know when to make those calls, I guess, because if you seem like you just call something out over any little thing on Twitter, it comes off as very unprofessional, and it can make yourself and your business look bad, and in the end you will lose business. But on the other hand, this is what you, the artist, owe the commissioner. You owe them the commission to the best of your current ability. You owe them, I would say you owe them a sketch approval. I think that's the best way to go about things, and to make sure people will like their commission, is to do a sketch and be like, hey, this is your sketch, this is what I was thinking for your commission. Do you have any changes, or would you like a different pose or whatnot? And usually, like 90% of the time, I've had commissions go completely smoothly when I do that. You also owe the commissioner a high-res file of the finished product and or the PSD. I know some people don't feel comfortable giving out PSDs, but I am completely fine if people ask for them. But I always make sure to give them a high-res PNG file so the customer can print it out on their own and they can enjoy it in the highest quality. And you also owe your commissioners answers to updates and links to your Trello board, your public queue, or whatever, whatever you use to keep your public queue. You owe the commissioner a link. If a commissioner wants an update, even if they could go look for themselves, it is a customer courtesy thing to go and hand them the links as well. Did not mean to do that. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. It doesn't work out for a commissioner. Sometimes your style doesn't fit with the character. Sometimes it's just not a good match. The person didn't like the pose. The artist wasn't like completely, clicking with it. It happens, but in the end, you can't produce the same quality every time, even though you can try to. The only thing that matters is you tried your best and you did whatever you could to make the commissioner happy, and you tried to do your best on your commission. And sometimes the customer's looking for something different that exists in their head that they can only communicating in words can do so much. And it sucks, it happens, but at the end of the day, your time was spent as an artist, and I think that's another big thing as an artist that you need to understand is your time that you put into your skill to do the actual piece is what's worth the money. That's the art is also worth the money, but it's also like, you know, if you go into a job and you are paid hourly, it's that time has passed. It's not like you don't get to collect for the time that has passed. And I see a lot of people like, being upset and having to redo their commission. And sometimes redoing commissions is needed, very rarely, but the customer as well needs to understand that your time and your skill was put into place and it was already spent. So having to work that into your terms of service as well is also very important. And here's the big one, organization. It is something I struggle with, it's something everybody struggles with, but as long as you keep trying to do something that's better than before and you look at, you keep things fresh and you just kind of compile stuff more, especially if you have merch, this is really important. And it can help you with your deadlines, it can help you easily pack your orders, and find your art supplies right away. I know I need to organize all my art supplies or I'm never gonna find them. I would recommend keeping a planner. I brought my planner with me. And this is just one of those, you could get them at Michael's or whatever, planners. And I put notes all over them and I decorate mine up a bit. I'll show you guys one of my decorated pages. But I do that for fun, just to make the planning fun, because I'm just bored half the time, writing in stuff. It's just cute or whatever, and it helps me remember things. And I write down all my commissions I'm gonna do, all my bills I have to do. I especially get like the stickers that have the little checklists here, so I know like, oh, I'm gonna work on this person's commission today, or that person's commission, or I'm gonna sketch these and send them out and stuff. And also, like, especially if you have organization for your finances, that's a huge thing, especially if you're running your own business. Another thing I'd recommend is getting some sort of file cabinet or just one of those milk crates that can allow file folders, because you'll need to keep stuff about your health insurance, your taxes, your receipts that you buy supplies with, all of that sort of stuff. And I'm also going to cover, remember to organize your files on your computer. I am bad about this. I need to get better about it. But because I know how bad mine can get, I can say that it's very important to organize them, because you will lose stuff all the time. And have backups. Please have backups. I have lost so many. At college, I learned the hard way. Files can corrupt. Files can get lost. Having a backup is always a really good idea. And keep your merch in a safe, elevated, and dry area and away from windows that get direct sunlight anytime throughout the day. Eventually, if sunlight keeps hitting stuff, badges, merchandise, books, games, whatever, it'll eventually fade. It'll be like the front of a Blockbuster. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it would just be all faded out and you wouldn't even know what's going on, and you don't want that to happen to your art. So I usually keep a curtain over my window in the room that I keep all of the merch in, and I keep all my merch on shelves. In the future, when I move, I would like to keep them in like a basement area up on shelves. But for now, it's just good to do that. I also had an incident recently where it was last year where I had my apartment flood, and I was terrified. I'm so glad that none of my wall scrolls or prints or anything got damaged, but some pumps break randomly, and I would say try to keep all your merch and everything up off the floor if possible, in case of that too. And also find storage that keeps your prints and merch clean from strong scents, pets, and any sort of work mess. So keep your prints away from your paints, keep your, keep your charms and buttons and whatnot away from like all of that stuff. And like, if you smoke, make sure you don't smoke in the same room that you're gonna do stuff that you're selling, that kind of stuff. Like, don't spray anything that has too strong of a scent on it, because some people can be allergic, and if they're buying your artwork or whatnot, they could have an allergic reaction or an asthma attack or something like that. Also with pets, like, I know that's a big thing for fursuit makers to keep their pets away from stuff, but I would also say try to keep pets away from merchandise as well, because you never know if like some hairs or dander is going to upset somebody. Here's another picture of the planner. And I honestly, another reason why I keep the planner is because I remember things better if I handwrite them. If I type something, I really don't remember it half the time. And here's the thing about making a Trello. This is what a Trello board looks like. This is a sample one I made for the convention. And I just put some random names on here, and you can make separate lists for each type of commission you have. Like, let's say you had regular commissions and some seasonal commissions and then some string commissions, or you have like some seasonal icons or something like that. And you can also have a key. I like to put a key on mine to let people know what stage their commission's in. And like, you know, green sketching, set for approvals, yellow, inkings, orange, what. I just made up a random one for this. But it also keeps your customers to know, oh yeah, the guy ahead of me is being sketched. Mine's coming up next. I can expect to have mine be done soon. And it would also keep a lot of emails away that are just asking for updates, because if someone could just look in, it's transparent, it's there, it'll save both you some time and the customer some time. Because doing emails and stuff is time consuming. Let's see. And you can also make checklists for smaller commissions. So on this part right here, I don't know if you guys can see, there's these like lists here, and it has a 0 out of 8 and a 0 out of 5. You can make little checklists in there, like if you have icons you want to do and you want to keep them like separate because they're smaller, or headshot sketches or whatever, you can make a card, and when someone clicks on the card, there's a whole checklist there, and as you complete your commission, you can check it off and it'll cross the name through and stuff. Another cool thing you can do is attach files to Trello, and if it's not safe for work, you can hide it as well. There's an option to keep it hidden. And I think that's pretty cool, because if somebody wants to look at a sketch, or they want to pick up a file and you want to do it that way, I just suggest Google Drive and email to send files. Google Drive especially is like, you could purchase more for really cheap, write that off as a business expense, and then keep all your files there. That way your commissioners can always go back to your files. And since you work from home, you don't have to go into work anywhere except for your home. And I would recommend just to decorate your workspace. I decorated mine, I put lights up, I have posters up. It looks different than this now. I used to have my badges off to the side. And it can make it a fun, welcoming space for you to come into. Because it's sometimes when you're at home, it's really hard to want to get up and work. Because you're like, oh, I'm at home, I'm in pajamas, I'm really comfy, and I want to sleep in. But the thing is, when you work at home, you need to put in the hours, and make sure you put in the hours to do your job and have a discipline for yourself. And making your workplace a fun place to be kind of helps motivate you to come in to work, basically. And I know I need my workspace to be fun and inviting for me to feel comfortable, and I just, you know, and then I get to work and I can feel more productive. And working from home tips. That will also bring me to that. Your health is really important when you are at home. It is easy to sit all day. It is very easy to just snack all day on like junk food. I've done it, and let me tell you, I was miserable for a long time, and then I changed things around, and I feel a lot better, and it keeps me a lot less at risk. I would say top thing is stay hydrated, because I had a problem in college or in high school where I was not hydrated enough, and I drank a lot of soda at that time. And I know a lot of people like soda. I would recommend cutting it out and making it very occasional, because I got kidney stones really bad, because you are more prone to kidney stones if you're just sitting all day and you're not moving around. I would say to make sure you move around like every 1 to 2 hours, at least stretch, touch your toes, I like to go, I have a trail that's like right outside of my apartment, and when it's like nice outside, I like to go for a walk. I walk around my apartment. Like, even though if you don't have a lot of space, you should get up and move around. You'll feel a lot better, your muscles won't be achy, and if you stretch, because you're bunched up in your chair all day in the same position, you're gonna wanna like make sure you move around and stuff, or you're gonna feel like really bad at the end of the day, and also develop back problems. I would say also make sure that you eat at least 2 meals a day. I know some people also forget to eat when they're working. Have alarms set for these if you find out you have a problem with it. I would also say to invest in a Fitbit. I don't have my Fitbit on right now, it's in my bag. But Fitbits are great because they'll like tell you how many steps you take. You're supposed to take about 10,000 a day. And sometimes that's hard, but if you at least get like 3,000 to 4,000 steps in a day, it's doing yourself a favor, and it's keeping, you know, your blood flowing. It's keeping, you know, it's also good for your brain chemistry as well. I also, my big thing is take care of your hands and wrists. I've had tendonitis problems due to toxic work environments in college. A lot of art colleges and stuff, they'll tell you that, you know, sleep is for the weak and all this, like, you know, garbage, and they'll tell you, you know, just keep working constantly and get these things done in these tight deadlines. And while it's training you to be quicker at art, it can also hurt you a lot. I had problems with tendonitis so bad one year that I had my whole thumb go numb, and it was pins and needles, and then there was just shooting pains just going up my arm, and I couldn't move. I had another friend who had problems with it. She had to get like complete shoulder surgery because she overworked herself. And I have a friend that's in dealer's den that's recovering from tendonitis where she could not even open her hand because she did so much work with her hands and did not rest it. And I will say, do stretches. There's a lot of sources on YouTube, a lot of videos that will teach you to do stretching. A lot of ones, like you can go like this will be good, where you push your fingers against each other is really good. Do stuff like this. Like anything where you bend this wrist back too is really good exercise. Making sure you stretch your fingers out, and do this every so often. Also, making sure you focus on something. Do the I forget what it was called. I think it's the 20-20-20 rule that Disney has, where you know, for 20 minutes you look at something 20 feet away and you focus on that for a bit, because your eyes, or it's every 20 minutes, look at something for like 2 minutes or something like that. You basically make sure like you are not just focusing on a screen far away, because it doesn't, like, it's not like don't sit too close in front of the TV kind of thing, but it will strain your eyes. You will get headaches. I have a lot of eye twitch problems from it. It's just not fun to deal with, and it sucks. And I would say invest getting into these like little wrist braces and stuff. I have a smaller one, I think, in here that's just like a fabric one, and they're really cheap. They're just kind of like, you know, I've had this one for years, but you just wrap it around real quick. And even that keeps your wrist straight, which is what you don't want to have it go down like this. You want to have it straight, especially when it's hurting. And honestly, like, you don't need to wear that during work. I wear this during work because it's softer and it's easier to hold a pen and such. But when you go to bed, I would invest in getting these padded ones. They have little pillows in them, and they have a little straight plastic or metal bar in there that will keep your whole arm straight. And if you wear that a couple nights, especially if you're hurting really bad, you'll start feeling a lot better. I would also recommend get a flu shot. If you go to cons all the time, make sure you get that. That has saved my life going to cons, because especially around when you go to MFF and stuff, people are sick from like whatever fall, winter thing that's been going around. Another thing I would recommend is take at least one day off a week. There's some people I know that stream every single day, and it's not good for you. You need some sort of mental break. You need some sort of kind of, you know, switching gears is what I call it. Some way to switch gears and take break from drawing. Like, even if it's your day off, try not to draw. Like, I know it sucks. I know, like, as an artist, you want to draw. You want to be productive. You know, and if you're going to draw for yourself, because it's a different way of approaching it mentally, I think. And I think that's okay as long as it's not too crazy. because you do need that time off for your hands and you need that time off for your brain. And then as well, another slide about exercise. If you move around a lot, I know a lot of artists, especially myself, I suffer from anxiety and depression. And when I go outside, I end up, feeling a lot better because my brain chemistry is going, I get some sunshine, I get my endorphins going. And it doesn't fix everything, but it at least aids a little bit if like someone has a chemical imbalance or whatnot. And it's good just for people in general to get sunshine and, not an intense amount. If you live in somewhere very warm, I recommend limiting your time. But if you live out in the Midwest or something, going outside, doing some errands is a good way to go about it. And you don't work at a place that is clean for you or expects you to come in clean. You should practice good hygiene on yourself and your workspace, which means disinfecting surfaces, making sure you bathe, making sure, your devices are taken care of, like open your computer up, get the dust out, because that will kill your parts if you don't take care of that. Like, you need to make sure your computer is like virus scanned and all of that. Like, make sure you're taking care of your stuff and make sure you're taking care of you and make sure you're taking care of your environment. And also investing in a chair with good support is really good. Don't get like those $1,000 chairs. I don't recommend like getting something that expensive, but if you get something that's like supposed to be good for your back and has good cushion and stuff, you can get pretty reasonable stuff for like $200 on Amazon or something, or like at a local place where you could actually sit down in the chair and feel like if it's good for your back. Because you will, have issues. I have issues. And it sucks when your back hurts and you're trying to work and draw. And then next is going to bring me to convention tips, which actually ties in with your home stuff a lot. You can also personalize your display. And I've seen so many people do really cool creative stuff. Like, one of my friends is like into the pirate theme, so she has like a little lantern hanging up and some little gold pieces, and it just little accents bring people to your table. And also it's like bringing a little slice of home into work at a convention. And you should make sure to keep track of your merchandise numbers and see which products are more popular than others. This will help you in knowing what to sell and what to make more of. For instance, my product, the Biger pins, went so well, I decided that was a good way for me to know that I can make lanyards, bracelets, and charms of them, and they would do well. But for me to make those same amount with the other design, I don't know if they will, because the first product, for instance, didn't sell as well. So doing things like that and thinking in that way and observing your own merchandise, like numbers going in and out, will also help your marketing. And as well at conventions, you should also make sure to get a good night's sleep and eat at least 2 meals a day, and you should make sure you have a checklist for yourself before you come into the con, or as you leave, to have that checklist to make sure you're bringing everything home. And I will also say you should do your taxes if you make over $20,000 on your PayPal account. Now's the time I need Gatorade. Whew, because my mouth is dry when I talk. Okay. So taxes are super important. I know a bunch of people that skip them. You should not do that, especially if you make over $20,000 and it's on your PayPal. PayPal will report you to the IRS if you make over a certain amount, and you will need to fill out forms with TurboTax or go to H&R Block. A big thing you can do to help minimize how much you owe, because you will owe. You won't get a return, unfortunately, with this job. Sometimes you do get a little bit if you do the quarterly payments, but it's really hard to do that at first. So currently, You usually start a couple years doing back taxes, then eventually you make enough to do the quarterly payments every month. And if you make sure you do that, you probably will get some back if you do more than you're estimated, but usually you end up owing because, like I said, you don't have a job that's taking your payroll. You know, money out of your check, you know, for taxes and health insurance or whatever, you would see usually on like on your paycheck and stuff, you have to do that yourself. You also should establish yourself a payroll, which is a big thing that I've done recently and has made my business a lot better, is keeping separate bank accounts for the money that you can freely spend on things, and you have to decide for yourself what those things are. Like, me and my husband, when we created our own like financial structure, we were like, this is the money that goes in the operating account. The operating account pays for bills, commission supplies, convention supplies, and anything related to the business that we can write off. The payroll accounts are for us. That's if we want to buy ourselves a game, that's if we want to go out to eat, that's if we want to buy some new clothes, you know, that's if we want to get gas that's not being made, you know, that's not being used to go to a convention. Like, that stuff usually comes out of our payrolls. And it keeps your money in appropriate places, so that way if you're before a convention and you're like, I want to order some more lanyards, I want to order some more prints, and you have that capital to do that with. You can also do PayPal capital as well if you have that. They'll give you some, and then they'll start taking money out of all of your transactions after that. And this is the never do this list. The never do this list is the things you should never ever do as an artist. The top one is never run away from commissioners after taking their money or when you need to catch up on work. What you should do, even if you have a big queue, which I have had, and it happens, you just make an effort every day to move forward to catch up, and make sure to take days off and breaks, because even if you're catching up and you want to dedicate a lot of time to catching up, if you do not take the breaks, you will get burnt out and get further behind, and that's not fun at all. I would also say, going back to talking about art school, never give in to hardcore artist attitudes and lifestyles. Lack of sleep, too many energy drinks and energy pills can really hurt you and possibly shorten your lifespan. Like I'm saying now, if you guys drink energy drinks at all, I wouldn't drink them. I know somebody who had sleep apnea and didn't know, and he kept drinking energy drinks and he passed away. It does a huge number on your heart. I would say if you want to have caffeine, make yourself coffee. It's a good thing. Drink some tea. Other things that wake you up that are good for you are apples and almonds, if that's something that you like. You could also make energy little snacks that have protein and stuff. There's like recipes on Pinterest and stuff, and you can make like little like granola, like little, like, I don't know, like granola peanut butter balls that have like different like things in them that give you energy too. You see them at grocery stores. You could probably make it at home for cheaper too. And I would say never give a customer a grade of quality under your examples. Even if you're tired, even if you're worn out, if a commissioner wants something, if you have to tell them that they have to wait a little bit longer so they could get a good commission, I would rather you get that commission to them done to the best of your ability than rushed, because it'll look bad on you, it'll look bad on the quality of your work, and you want each piece of work to look really good so people will look at it and go, hey, I want to buy from that artist, that looks really good, that's a really good piece. And I always say, like, as my personal thing, always try to meet up with your current quality or do better than last time. And that's part of the reason why my commissions take a little longer to do too, is because I always try to do better than I did last time and give some of the absolute best I can give them. And it's always good to just kind of have that in mind and try to meet up with your own standards as well. Art is not your only skill. That's the whole thing of this panel. You know, drawing is only one part of this job. You will need to exercise bookkeeping, planning, organizing, and time management. You'll need to have good communication skills, and you'll need to learn what your professional face is. Everybody has a slightly different one, but finding your own way of being your own individual as an artist, but also keeping a professional tone, but with your own flavor to it is very important. I would say other tips, because you are on your own, I would say learn to fix your computer if you work on a computer. There are tons of YouTube videos out there, like if your phone breaks, if your iPad breaks, if your Surface Pro breaks, if your PC breaks. There's so many videos out there on YouTube that are people that know what they're doing that'll tell you how to do that. You can also read up on it. I would say just like try to understand that, to know if you need to, that you can rely on yourself. Becoming very independent is another big thing. When being an artist, you need to basically have the motivation to just pick things up on your own and do them, because this is your business, you're counting on you, and you need to problem solve on the fly sometimes. I would also say to learn to troubleshoot hardware and software issues. I've had to troubleshoot Photoshop so many times. I've had to look up manuals, I've had to do this and that because I've messed something up. And usually once you start getting the hang of it, you'll learn to just be able to correct things on the fly like that. And that should be it. I have some more stuff that's basically along the same lines of what I was talking about. Do you guys have any questions? Yes?
Can your terms of services, because I don't know if you've ever gotten one of those PayPal chargebacks where after it's done, can your terms of service be used to defend yourself with that?
Yes. The thing about PayPal, I have read into it. PayPal allows protection of digital services as long as it is not safe for work, is from what I've learned, but it's not the only way to protect a not safe for work sort of product is if it's physical. So as long as your art is, if it's not safe for work, then there's going to be an issue where it could come up. I would put that in there anyway.
I'm a strictly safe for work artist.
Oh yeah, so you would definitely be protected because your digital products would be protected through PayPal as long as it's safe for work. I will say that like if you're not safe for work artist, it's a little risky to do it, but I haven't had any issues with people doing that, and I hope most people are good and just won't be that way, because I would like to continue running my business. It's not, I don't think it's actually against PayPal's rules. I think don't quote me on this, like I would look it up, but they did say that they wouldn't protect against that, so you're fine.
I've just heard about it a lot on Twitter and stuff like that.
It's, yeah, people, like it happens to some people, and the best you could do about that is keep an eye out for those names, keep all those names down, blacklist them, and write what they're about if you want to avoid people like that. Because if people come through and commission you and you see that email, you'd be like, refund, goodbye. And you could just keep them out of your face, because I know there's one guy that gives people issues. He does chargebacks and stuff, and he makes a new name all the time. So also it's hard to do, but try the best you can to keep up with the new usernames too, because people can be real shady like that. Any other questions?
What was the different files for like high resolution art?
Oh, for high resolution art, you want to give out a PNG. And you also would like to, if you need to, give out the PSD, which is the Word file. Even if you're in Sci or Clip Studio, you usually can, you definitely can export it out to be a PSD, and that's what everybody can use to open it, whether you have Clip Studio, Sci, whatnot. They all seem to universally use PSDs. Also, as well, with high-res stuff, I work at least 300 DPI, 300 to 350 DPI, and that's important for selling for prints too. If you want to do a print, you make it in 300 DPI. When it goes to the internet, I think it's, I forget what the exact DPI, I think it's 150 when it's on the internet, and it's 240 when it's printed, but you want it 300 so it can be the biggest quality it can be. depending on how HD the printer is. That information probably is old too, because I got that information when I was in college. But you could also Google it, like I would say anything you're doubtful of in this job, just Google it. It's all there for you. The internet's there for you. You know, you don't need any catalogs anymore. It's just pretty cool. You just start this whole thing on your own and do it and be guided by a giant like library of whatever. Oh, I did have another thing on here that I wanted to say that was other tips in general. And it's just fun stuff. I would say take the time to practice anatomy, drawing objects, humans, vehicles, and backgrounds. And this is like no matter what skill level you're at, you should do this. You should practice different stuff. Do like life studies, do little like thumbnails, like pull pictures off of Google and just try to repaint them, like little scenery things or like a classical painting or a professional painting. You'll learn a lot about color, you'll learn a lot about perspective and all that kind of stuff if you do that. Being a more well-rounded artist is fulfilling and will give you a creative range to apply to furry and fandom artwork as well, of different fandoms if you'd like. It's, you know, I don't know about you guys, but like I've been drawing furry art for over 10 years and I just like to draw different stuff sometimes to keep it fresh, because sometimes you get stuck drawing like similar stuff. If somebody likes something you post, you'll get a lot of the same stuff, and it's good to keep things fresh once in a while. I highly recommend like going to the zoo, aquarium, and museum and taking a sketchbook. You can definitely write off the museum, aquarium, and zoo tickets for a study, especially if you're doing your art there. You could definitely write that off as a business expense because it is a part of your studies and stuff. Same with art programs, markers, art books. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can write off on taxes. That if you buy it for your business, that it can just be written off, which is really cool. It won't take the whole thing off, it just takes a percentage, but it's enough sometimes, especially over the year if you accumulate something. I would recommend always try new media, even if you're an artist known for a certain media, just playing around with stuff. I tried Posca markers yesterday and they were awesome, and I made myself a little badge, and I just had fun with it. And I've been trying to just do different stuff, and it's good for your brain to try new things, and you know, always keep things entertained, because you're going to be at home seeing the same stuff every day, and just like, especially as a creative, to change your environment and things up, it'll keep you productive, it'll keep you happy. I would also recommend to collect art books. Art books are awesome. I have a collection of different kinds. I have Disney ones, I have video game ones, I have movie ones, I have a really cool Pacific Rim one, and I have a cool Dead Space one, and then I have these Disney, like, they're process, like sketching, animation, backgrounds, all the kind of theme books, and anything like that. It's just really fun to look at them. You'll learn something when you look at them, seeing other people's processes. Another thing is take time to do personal artwork. Your commissions will be so stagnant if you don't do this, because like if you draw something for yourself once in a while, it also refuels your style, your creativity, and all of that. And another one is find things you love to do and do them. It's fun to play with ideas that come up and explore them, and you'll make amazing artwork that way. Like if there's a picture you've been itching to do, just sketch it out, just do it, you know, because that's your brain telling you like, I have creative things, let me out. And so you should like do your best to like just appease it once in a while at the most if you can. Do not choose this job unless you are gonna still at least decently tolerate it when you don't want to do it. There are some days I don't want to get up and do stuff, but I'm like, it's just drawing, and I'll be on call with my friends, and we're gonna watch a movie while I draw. That's not so bad. And so I'll get up out of bed, and I'll be at least happy to do that. And some people aren't commission artists. Some people like to make merch and will do well off of that. Even people that I know are the most talented people, they are not best fit for this job because you work for yourself, and they more like are people that need someone to tell them what to do every day and whatnot. Everybody's different. I would say anyone can do this, but not many stick with it. And if you want to do this, just stick with it. You'll make mistakes, you'll learn new things, you'll get better, and you'll learn even more. I'm sure this panel will change in the next 2 years for me, even though I've been in this as long as I have, because I will still learn more things as it goes on and the fandom changes and there's more people that come in. I think that's it. And it's like fall 16, so if you guys have any questions or you want to know anything, just feel free to ask. And also, like, if y'all want to go, you can go, because I'm going to go to the Van Gogh, because I don't know how far along they are. I think that's in main events. If you guys want to come to Van Gogh too, I have no clue what to expect. I've never been there. Thanks for listening to me talk for like almost an hour.
Silver Gato Man, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gato Man, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gato Man, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.